Well, welcome to Durbania Live. We're excited to be here and to spoiler talk The Matrix.
Still no kung fu.
Well, you saw that spoiler talk.
Spoilers.
This is Laura. I'm Durbin. And I forgot to write it in our name there, but
That's okay.
At least
all good.
All the rest of the graphics in there and ready to go. So how you guys all doing? Dimensions. Scott jumps in here. He says, hey, what's up? I don't care about spoilers for this movie. You know, as far as Matrix movies goes, it's probably not the best. So I can understand that. So
it's not the worst.
It's
either.
definitely not the worst. So basically, that's my coffee.
Yes.
Oh my
Sorry,
gosh.
I forgot to turn the beeping off.
The coffee pot is letting me know more coffee is ready. Now I'm going to be wanting to go over to get coffee. Anyway, we are here to spoiler talk The Matrix Resurrections. What did you think of it? Let's talk about that right now in the live chat. If you're watching this later, let's talk about that in the comments. We got Daniel saying, hello, Durbin. What is up, Daniel? Super excited to have you. So without further ado.
Sorry, it was Daniel. I read it wrong. I almost said it was Arnold. My eyes. I'm not wearing my glasses. I get messed up.
Oh, look at that. I do have an amazing life.
Thank you,
so
Daniel.
much, Daniel.
I try.
I really do.
That's the grace of God. I try.
So let's just give our overall grade for The Matrix Resurrections. What did you overall think and what's your grade for it?
I'm trying to compare it with what I would have given the other ones. Because I enjoyed it. If it was a brand new one, I would have been like, yeah, maybe A-. But I'm comparing it to the first, so B+.
B+. I feel like I'm in the same boat. I'd give it a B+. To get it all out of the way, no, this is nowhere near as good as the original one. So
the original one.
Hello, Grace.
Hey, Grace. And also, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's to everybody.
And let us know, because I'm getting a weird internet signal on my screen. Let us know if it's being weird.
Yes,
I don't know what I can do about it. Just let me know if it is.
We have it plugged in. We don't know why. So if it's skippy, we apologize.
Yes. So, okay. So my overall grade is a B+ as well. It's nowhere near as good as the original, but that's always going to be hard to do because the original was groundbreaking. Came out in 1999.
It was new.
Bullet time, the visuals, the story. Everything, the internet is acting up. Well, thank you, Daniel, for letting us. I don't know why. I don't know how you can have it literally plugged in.
Full bars with the plug-in, but it's for whatever reason it's showing us Wi-Fi. So we're not sure if it's trying to pull from our Wi-Fi or not. So we're trying to get it fixed. He's working on it. But let us know. Keep telling us. What did you guys think who have seen it? Would you give it an A, B, C, worse?
Yes. Go ahead and let us know. The screen is very blurry. Well, I just hit some buttons, so let's see if that will do something very slow on my side. Well, that is good to know. We will do what we can. So.
Really sorry.
Yeah. We got to probably just get new internet. It's getting really weird over here. So anyway, B+, just because the first one is groundbreaking. This one is not groundbreaking. There was nothing groundbreaking about this one at all. It was kind of cool how they took things like bullet time and used it against Neo. So what became his defining power now has become, she's playing with the internet.
Sorry, don't mind me. I'm going to try to see if I can figure it out.
Yeah, it's saying we're on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we've got to try to figure out why StreamYard is pulling from Wi-Fi. You keep talking.
I will keep talking. So yeah, anyway, I do like the fact that even though this is not groundbreaking, even though it's not new, even though it's not better than the original, I did enjoy it. I thought the action was good and the philosophy. I think one of the reasons you watch The Matrix is the philosophy and the story and what they do with that. And I feel like this did a good job carrying that forward. And actually, I think had some really good and interesting philosophy that, like the others, has some really powerful Christian parallels. And I'm super excited to dive into that. Yes. So Kathy says she can hear our voices clearly.
Thank you.
Awesome.
We appreciate
So if the picture's being weird, just listen to our voices as if this is a podcast and we're just super excited to have you.
We're retiring from watching any more Matrix movies.
Actually, it's funny because as you watch this Matrix movie, there's clearly a ton of obvious and blatant setups to continue the franchise that they want to do at least one or two more movies. And I got to say, none of that interested me. I really wish, kind of like when you watch The Matrix, the first one is kind of like the parallel, the death and resurrection of Jesus, especially the third one, where he dies becoming Agent Smith while plugged into the source to destroy the code of Agent Smith from the inside out, exploding everything with light, creating the choice that whoever wants to leave the Matrix can just be let out. I mean, that's where we last left everything. So that was an incredibly interesting ending where we left everything. So it's cool to bring it up. So lots of cool Christian stuff to dive into with that. And I'm excited with some of the Christian stuff that you're able to dive into with this one. So let's get into this just a little bit more here. She's on her phone.
I'm Googling why it's not pulling from the internet, but I'm here listening the entire time, and I will answer any questions.
That's right. That's what we do when we're live. We troubleshoot weird issues that come out of the blue while we're trying to be entertaining and talk about the movie that we're here to talk about. So obviously, one of the first things to talk about is modal Morpheus. Laura, what were your thoughts overall on this new Morpheus?
Well, I actually didn't mind him. I enjoyed the guy who acted in. I thought he did a great job. My only issue that I had with it was he was technically an agent at first in this modal. So when he comes into other ones and he's part Morpheus, part Smith, I mean, I'm not sure. Why doesn't he move like an agent? Why can't he do the bullet time and all the other stuff? So that was one of my issues with them. But overall, I liked how they pulled him over into the real world, how he was, I'm not even sure, it looked like nanotech to me. Sorry.
Yeah, it was kind of like nanotech from Marvel, but yeah.
I did enjoy, I liked him.
See, I liked him because I was kind of nervous going in. I was like, you can't really replace Lawrence Fishburne. He is Morpheus. He carries this gravitas, this weight, this authority with that character. And so I was like, how do you replace Lawrence Fishburne? And I'm glad they didn't, because this technically isn't Morpheus, right?
No, it's not.
Like Morpheus has died sometime around 60 years ago. And so this isn't Morpheus at all. So this is interesting because it's Neo creating a little modal to test programs that he's written. And so with this modal Morpheus, he's like part Morpheus and part Agent Smith. And so that was kind of interesting. And so what I liked is it's not Morpheus. Mm-hmm. It's just a program that has the name Morpheus. But one of the things that I really, really liked about introducing this Morpheus is this right here. Neo's sacrifice was not in vain. Now, that part I really liked. And because, like, you have that whole trilogy that builds up to Neo sacrificing himself, leading to this peace between man and machine. And so that was powerful. And so it sucks when you go into a fourth one. It's like, was it not as powerful as we thought it was going to be? Is it not as good as we thought it was going to be? And so what it shows us is man and machine have learned to live together. Like they say in the movie, it changed the whole us versus them. It redefines what is us. And so now you have machine and man working together. And I love it when they're talking to Niobe and Neo tries a strawberry and Io, the new Zion. Yes. And so I love that because it shows that what Neo did was not in vain. What Neo did was powerful. And now you actually get to see that kind of work together as you have modal Morpheus and Neo working together side by side, modal Morpheus working with the other humans side by side. So I like what that showed.
Yes.
So that's what I did. The one thing I feel like they have a missed opportunity, you kind of caught it with the bullet time. Like if he is kind of programmed to be an agent, you would think he could move like an agent.
Yep. And would be plugged into that system some.
Well, not really, because he was a program written by Neo inside of a modal. But I kind of wish if he's part Morpheus and part Neo, you see the struggle in the beginning where he's caught on that treadmill, constantly trying to find Neo, and then finally he breaks free and has that freedom. But I wish we could have seen him struggle more with the Agent Smith side. Like if he had more of a dark side and a light side, and you see him working to overcome that throughout the movie, I feel like that could have been a little bit more powerful and made his character a bit more unique and a bit more interesting. It's not that what they did with him was bad. Mm-hmm. I just kind of wish there was probably a little bit more of that fight. Let's see here. Grace says, hubby and I watched it last night. We enjoyed it. It was much better than we anticipated.
Yes,
I would give it a B+.
I do agree with that. And for me, when I watched it, I saw the first trailer and I refused to watch any other trailers.
Yeah.
And the reason I did that is because I didn't want to get my expectations too high, because I had a feeling it was going to be a good, enjoyable movie. But the more trailers I saw, I was afraid of anticipating too much. So
Yeah.
that's why I stuck with it that way. And I enjoyed it much better than when you keep doing more sequels in a series, they're not always going to be as good. So I liked it.
And I feel like that's a key to this Matrix movie. If you go in with high expectations, expecting what we got back in 1999,
you're not
you will
gonna
be let down. But for me, I kind of went in expecting it's going to be the same or maybe a little bit better than the second and third Matrix. And that's what I got. Like, to me, it's about as good as the second or third Matrix, maybe a little bit better. So, my expectations were in the right place. The next thing we got, new Agent Smith. What did you think?
What did I think? Well, one, I love the original Agent Smith. I really, really love the original Agent Smith. I liked him. Now, I have to be honest, I've only seen this movie 1.5 times, and I probably should have watched the second half, not the first half. Because that's where you learn more about the connection between Agent Smith and Neo, which I would have liked more in relation to that. Because Agent Smith was the villain.
But you know why they didn't do more, right? You know why they didn't do more? They're setting him up for sequels.
I know. And
that was the problem.
Is what bothers me. Is that movie felt like it was a lot of setup for future sequels. And that kind of bothered me. I did like the guy who played him. I thought he did a good job. But I would have loved it. It's like he was trying. I cannot think of the original actor's name.
Hugo Weaving.
Thank you. He was trying to be Hugo Weaving, which bothered me. I'm like, I wanted him to be different because he didn't. It's very hard because, like, the guy who was pretending to be Hugo Weaving in the real world,
right? He
was brilliant. He imitated Hugo Weaving's everything. This guy, they tried to make him different, but the same. They should have just made him different or the same. Pick a lane. And it was just conflicting for me. I enjoyed him though.
So I think we got 2 views here. Barbara says, I didn't like the new Agent Smith at all. And Danielle, I personally love Jonathan Groff in Netflix's Mindhunter. I didn't see that one. But look at this. Do you prefer Jonathan Groff as Kristoff in Frozen or as Agent Smith in The Matrix?
I'm going to go with Kristoff in Frozen because he wasn't trying to be somebody else in that. He was just being Kristoff.
See, you make a valid point. But I feel like he did a pretty good job imitating Agent Smith. And I feel like to a degree he had to. Because even though the skin is different, he's still the same Agent Smith.
Yes, but he wasn't close enough to him.
True.
It's like he wasn't imitating. If he was going all in, imitating him 100%, we would have been fine. But it was like 60%. I needed the full 100 or I needed 0.
Yeah. Caleb says, I watched it yesterday. It was fun. I liked it. New Agent Smith was okay. They just didn't give him much to do. Like, it felt like he was shoehorned in to give us trailer material for setup sequels. That is my biggest problem because, like she said, Smith is like the villain. In fact, not just the villain for Neo. He's the villain for the Machine City.
Yes.
It's why the head machine.
So why is he back in the system?
So I have a theory as to why he's back in the system. And I think they explain this because you have Grace, you're so awesome. Thank you so much. Merry
Grace.
Christmas. Blessed New Year, you guys. Love this channel. Keep up the great work.
And just real quick, if it's still choppy, I'm really sorry. There was no resolution when you're in the middle of a live stream.
Okay. Well, we will fix it for future live streams.
Yes, really sorry.
But as long as you can hear us, keep joining us in this conversation because it's going to be a very interesting Matrix conversation.
Podcast style.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Grace. I really appreciate that. And if you want to keep doing like what Grace is doing and give this way, it's a great way to support Durbania because I love talking about The Chosen and finding God in these type of movies, which we are about to do. Now, one of the things that I liked about bringing Smith back in, I feel like this is my theory because what they said is Smith was chained to Neo. And as soon as Neo got free, like that first scene where, the attack is on the building and the water's coming down and Neo's starting to wake up, Smith starts to wake up.
Yes.
And you see, that's when Smith begins to have those flashbacks. So my theory is he's there and he's chained to Neo.
And he doesn't realize he's Mr. Smith, Agent Smith, not Mr. Smith.
Right.
Agent Smith until Neo starts to believe he's Neo.
Yeah.
I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Because what's interesting about him being chained to Neo is, thank you so much, Daniel. Opinions on,
I cannot say that name. Priyanka.
Which one did this person play?
Jonah. I don't know the names of actors. I'm so
Yes,
bad
I
at
know.
that.
I didn't.
I'm
yeah.
so sorry. I should have looked at the cast list before, but Christmas, crazy, we missed it. But thank you so much for the gift.
I really appreciate that.
Yes.
So with Agent Smith, here he is chained to Neo, and I think the reason he's chained to Neo is the reason like we have this great lie in this brand new Matrix with this brand new analysis, because I think Smith is there to give Thomas Anderson conflict, because the human mind, it kind of needs something to overcome. It also needs something to yearn for, and this is something that the analysis talked about. Humans always yearn for what they don't have. They're afraid to lose what they do have, and I think the reason they put Agent Smith in there is because there is that bond between Smith and Neo. Plus, some of Neo's code is on Agent Smith because of what happened at the end of the first Matrix. So I think because of that bond, there's going to be something there that stimulates Neo's mind. I mean, come on. The way this opens is he almost stepped off a building and everybody's saying suicide and all that because his mind was trying to escape the world he was living in. So they really need Neo to be afraid to lose what he has, to have something to yearn for, but also possibly something to give him conflict. And I think that's the reason that they kept Agent Smith alive and his code alive, because they do have that bond. And if you make Agent Smith his business partner, then what you have is this constant bond. And so you have that bond, that conflict constantly being fed to him. Iron sharpens iron. It's something that he has to get over. I know what you're saying, but it's like, I feel like that's why he's there. But I also feel like it's not super explained because they want us to have sequels. And that's kind of this hole with this movie.
That was the hole. It was just trying to build more.
Oh, something I was saying earlier and forgot because I kept watching what she was doing as she's trying to fix the Wi-Fi and it completely distracted me. What I like about the first Matrix and all those is you have all these amazing and interesting. I forgot it again. It was there and then it left.
We have those days, don't we, everybody?
Yeah, we do.
We call them we ate too much at Christmas.
Yes, I need more coffee.
Yeah.
But one thing I like is why Trinity is there. I mean, were you able to pick up why they had to keep Trinity here?
Well, so we haven't talked about the analyst yet. So, or the architect. But for me, he kind of explained why Trinity had to be close to him, but not too close.
Yes.
Because in the world where they're close, but they're not connected, there is so much going on. And
thank you, Falcon.
Merry
thank
Christmas
you so much.
to you as well. Thank you. Such a blessing to us. Thank you. But rewinding now, sorry. But part of my thing is, so he put her within his reach, but just far enough that he wouldn't do anything because he was a good guy. She was a woman with a family. He saw her every day, so they were close. So the analysts or the architect's numbers were, like he talked about, they were off the hook, doing so much better when it was like this. So that's the reason I feel like Trinity was in it.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me because she was definitely dead in the last one.
Well, they were both dead.
But they did explain how they brought them back, how it was a resurrection.
It was a resurrection.
Roll credits. And they just, what did you think? Sorry.
It was interesting because, they talked about bringing Neo back. Why? Because they need his code. He is the one. So he's that weird, chaotic element that they needed. It kind of balances out the Matrix.
But it's even better with Trinity.
It is. And it's also even better with Trinity because you don't have the Neo source code without Neo, but you don't have Neo without Trinity because it felt like they kept trying to bring him back to life and it just wasn't working. And so the way the analyst worded it is he had to find Neo's source code and he knew what it was. And I like this because this is a very interesting tie to the first Matrix. In the first Matrix, when does Neo become the one? When does he fully embrace all that he is?
When he dies.
When he dies. But what I love about it is there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. And Trinity believed in him because she was in love with him. That's what the Oracle had told her. The Oracle had told Neo, you're not the one. You're waiting for something. And I think the truth is he is the one, but he was waiting for love. He was waiting for faith. He was waiting to believe. And when Trinity loved him and kissed him, and yes, it's that Disney magical kiss that resurrects the dead, but there is some truth to that because, in 1 John, it says God is love. God makes us complete. So when you look at that picture and this love makes us complete, when she loved him and he felt that love, it gave him that completion. And one of the things the Bible says about marriage, the two flesh become one. And so that's what you have in that love and in that relationship with Trinity and Neo. The two have become one. And in this case, the one. And so it's interesting because I think it goes back to that moment in the first Matrix, shows us how important that love and that relationship is. And when you go through the other two movies, I mean, the second one is all about, yeah, I'm the one. What does that even mean? And it's all about the idea of choice, free will, or is choice an illusion? And so the architect was saying the prophecies and everything, it's all part of the construct to control you, to give you just enough hope, that thing to yearn for, that you keep going, but you're also afraid to lose what you have. So you'll sacrifice your code. We'll get a new iteration of the Matrix and we'll keep humanity in our grasp.
Yeah.
And so they're keeping those themes going. And that's what they needed. Neo, without her, isn't the one. And so they needed to bring her back so that you have the one. But together, they're too powerful and they're too dangerous. Like Matthew 18:19, it talks about, or Jesus talks about how where two or more are in agreement in my name. It's a very powerful thing. So when you have these two together, it's too powerful for the machines. But if you keep them just separate enough, they're yearning for each other. And that yearning keeps them going. But they're also too afraid to lose what they have, like Trinity and her fake family. Even if she was, as indicated in some scenes, irritated by her husband.
Or her kids.
There was definitely
family.
A motherly love there for the kids, right? There's kind of this fear to lose what you have, while this yearning to grab what you don't have. So it's interesting because I like what the analyst represents, because I think he represents the best lie that the devil has.
Yes.
The devil gives us the truth mixed with the germ of lie, or the germ of truth wrapped up in a lie to make it look all the more real. And so to me, that was really interesting how they keep Neo running on that treadmill. And then in the beginning, what did you think of how meta they got? Warner Brothers, our parent company, wants the fourth one. Like, what did you think of how meta they got?
Oh, it was kind of jokey. It felt like they were trying to bring it into our real world and make us think we were part of the Matrix. Which it was jokey. It was hokey to me. It was just
See, the thing that I liked about it is what the lie was. What do you want?
Let me scroll up. There's
up here.
Down one.
Down one. Oh,
thank
you so much, Al. You're so awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Such a blessing to us.
I really appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
And I'm glad Laura caught that.
All of this is probably going to go to fixing our Wi-Fi.
Yeah! All of your gifts right now make our Wi-Fi better for future live streams.
Sorry if this is still skippy for anybody. We do apologize.
Oh, man. Where was I? Oh, yeah. What I liked is the lie in this one, because the lie was really interesting because they couldn't get rid of Neo's memories.
No.
So
he was like, he was in the Matrix. It was like he was living the Matrix out. He made this video game. And so because he made this video game, he was living it thinking it was him and he was crazy.
Yep.
But he wasn't. He was just reliving his past.
Yep. But what was amazing is what you do with the truth is you make the truth look ridiculous and silly. And a lot of people had theories with the trailers that you remember Cypher, and he said, reinsert me in the Matrix and make me someone somewhat important, like an actor. So a lot of people theorized Thomas Anderson was going to be an actor playing Neo in the Matrix trilogy. But I like that it was a video game because it kept Neo true to his character. Like Thomas Anderson worked in computers. He was a hacker. He was a coder. And so we're keeping that true. Again, the truth with some lie mixed together. And that's what we're going for here.
Keeping it as close to the original as possible. So that way it doesn't feel too out of the blue that it's something else.
And I like that. And so then he's working in code and he's created this game. So what that does is it states the truth. All of this is in your head. Like your memories, that's where they are. They are in your head. But now what the lie is saying is, but that's all your imagination. Remember, all you did was create really cool video games where you inserted yourself as the main character. You'd be crazy and insane to think anything different. It's a video game. Are you seriously going to say a video game is real? Come on. And so that is kind of the clever thing that they've done with the truth. They've made the truth look far-fetched and ridiculous. And the lie, even if it's dull and boring and a cage, it looks more appealing and it's something that you're afraid to lose. So that's what I thought. And so when they're doing the meta stuff and they're sitting in their planning meetings trying to create the Matrix 4, and you're hearing them repeat the same lines again and again and again, what I think is really interesting about that is it's what the devil does. He wants the lie to continue to repeat in your head in a circular fashion, to reinforce the lie, to reinforce how ridiculous the truth is. And I feel like that's what we're seeing in this. That's why we had that montage. That's why Warner Brothers wanted the fourth Matrix and why it was being so meta. Because the more meta you can make that, the more ridiculous you can make the truth look to the person that's going through it. And so I feel like that was pretty clever what they did with the truth there. So,
I thought you were going to look at some of the comments.
Oh, no, I was going to bring up another slide here. But,
okay.
Well, because like keeping this on this biblical track.
Yes.
Because that's what I love about the Matrix is going through and finding that biblical stuff.
Oh yeah, the biblical, the philosophy behind it, all the just hidden subtext and sub-meaning, which might not have meant to be there, but it's there.
It's there. So I'm curious what you thought of this, Laura. Like, is this something that you saw as you were watching this movie when they were talking about the original real Morpheus?
Yes.
And the fact that he believed so much in what Neo did. When they heard there was a new evil rising, he said, we don't need to do anything. What Neo did was complete. What did you think of that?
Well, one, I don't know how long ago that was.
That's 60 plus years.
Well, no, 60 plus years is when Neo died.
Good point.
So when that changed over, we don't know how old Morpheus was. He might have just been tired.
Yeah. Well, they were all tired.
Yes,
like if you look at
were.
Trinity and Neo, they both were tired.
And so you've got to think, what if that was only, they say it was 60 years since Neo was found and since Neo sacrificed himself. And so what if that was like 40 years later? Morpheus's character would have been like 90.
Yeah.
He would have been tired and been like, no. He's like, I know what Neo did for me. He's like, I'm good.
Yep.
And so I don't know. So that's a hard one for me. I'm not 100% sure.
It feels tragic to me because I love the fact that Morpheus just believed in Neo wholeheartedly. But because of that, he let his guard down and he let his vigilance down, which allowed this new enemy to crop up with a brand new deception. And for a while they had peace, but the enemies traded that peace for the purge. So they purged the Oracle. They purged everything that we used to know and love that was in the Matrix. And now we have this brand new lie from this analysis, who's actually pretty clever with human psychology. And it reminds me of a few things. One is Ephesians 6, where it talks about put on the full armor of God. I mean, why would God tell us to put on the full armor except that the enemy is still alive and well on this earth? What Jesus did is complete. Like what Neo did, it was complete. But what Jesus did was complete, but the enemy is still in the world. So we need to put on the armor of God. We need to lift up the shield of faith against the fiery darts of the enemy.
Morpheus missed that scripture.
Yeah. And so I like these. First Peter says to be sober-minded, be alert. Your adversary, the devil, is prowling around like a roaring lion, looking for anyone he can devour. So resist him firm in the face. How do you resist him? In James, it says, submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. So there is still this active part that we take in our relationship with God. And part of that is we have to swallow pride. And I kind of wonder if that was Morpheus's problem. Did he not swallow his own pride?
That's very possible because he knows what he went through to find the one.
Yep.
He sacrificed everything for the one.
Yep.
And the one did his job. There was peace.
Yeah.
But he didn't keep putting on the full armor of God.
Yeah. He didn't stay sober-minded. To me, that's what I think when I hear that. He didn't stay sober-minded. Yeah. He didn't stay vigilant because the enemy is a roaring lion seeking who he could devour. And here comes the analyst who was present when Neo died, who outdid the original architect and now comes in with a new matrix because he is wandering around. He's like a roaring lion seeking who he can devour. And he was able to trap Trinity and Neo because they sacrificed themselves. They were exhausted.
Yeah.
And now he's playing to that. And so it's very interesting how the enemy got in and kept them held inside the Matrix and was trying to destroy Io, the new city, and humanity and grow. And so there was a lot of really, really interesting things.
There was.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, I know. We're working on it. We're working on it.
It seems to be acting up again. No, it looks like the Wi-Fi thing turned off. So if the internet is still acting up, I'm so sorry. I'm like, we can't.
Thank you, Kim.
Oh, thank you, Kim. Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that it's clear. For whatever reason, our Wi-Fi is working great, it says, and we haven't even plugged into the router, but it's pulling from the Wi-Fi, not from the router, and we're not sure why.
It's very strange.
Do apologize if it's choppy for you guys at all.
Yes. So what did you think as we got towards the end of, like, I love the philosophy. So I feel like there's a lot of good philosophy in there about being sober-minded, about being vigilant, and how they kind of didn't. Everybody was tired.
Yeah.
And they kind of just let their guard down. And so a new enemy rose. And now it's like everybody has to reawaken. And, you know, you get that a little bit of Neo's despair where he's like, man, we already went through all of this. And now I'm waking up in the pod all over again at square one, right where I left off.
But it's not square one.
No, it's not.
He still has all of his training. He remembers his history. So it's not square one. But it just, yeah, it's got to be disheartening to know he's got to go through all of this again. But he saw what has changed. He saw that IO, and he saw, you know, the fruits of his labor, like machines and humans working together. He just realized that there's constantly going to be more to do.
Yep. Now, one of the things, some of my negatives, they brought in that French dude, the Meryl de Vingian. I can never pronounce his name.
Honestly, I don't know why he was the one they picked to come back.
You could hear it in the lines in that fight scene. The fight scene was pretty cool.
I know, but I don't know. To me, he wasn't really a villain in the first place.
No, he was just
He was just an old code.
An old code, kind of a supporting character who brought up interesting points about, you know, choice or control. And so he was interesting in that way, but I never quite, like, and he's a smuggler of programs, but I never quite saw him as a villain. And so they bring him back in this as like surviving
with a whole bunch of other ones that are these old, like, exiled codes. That's what they called them. The programs that they no longer wanted, so they exiled them. But somehow, was it Smith that brought them back?
I don't know.
That was
some of that's unclear.
One of the ones I've only watched once.
And I think it's intentionally unclear because the whole point is he's the setup for the sequel.
Yeah.
And that's one setup I don't care about.
I know. And I'm hoping if we do have a sequel, we have more of Neil Patrick Harris.
Yes.
Because I liked him.
I did too. But I don't know. See, the other movies parallel different things, such as death and resurrection, like the death and resurrection of Jesus. And if they parallel these different things in Christianity, why didn't they just make this one parallel the second coming and have second coming parallels and bring things to a conclusion? And I'm kind of upset that they didn't, because as much as I was looking forward to a fourth Matrix, I don't really need
I don't need
a
fifth or a sixth. I'm good.
Yeah, I definitely don't need a fifth or a sixth. So I wish this was an ultimate conclusion, because the third one, it left things open while bringing an entire chapter to a close.
Yeah, so you felt resolved.
Yes, and I feel like this just took what felt resolved in the third one and now made it unresolved, and that's all that it did. That's probably one of my biggest weaknesses with this movie. I just wish this was the last one, because they tried to set some things up with Smith and, you know, the unlikely alliance between Neo and Smith in the end, where Smith helps him out and then disappears. Like, cool, very cool.
And I'm still perplexed at why he helps him out. There's a lot of, I have to rewatch it.
Yeah, it's like,
and the thing is, I don't want to rewatch it. So that's where it tells you why this didn't get an A rating, because it was good. It was enjoyable, but it just, would you see it again? I'm curious.
Why did Smith help him out? I think it's because he needs Neo for a little bit longer.
So that he can do what he wants to do.
Because he couldn't allow Neo to be imprisoned by these people. Because if Neo's in prison,
then he's in prison.
And that's why he had to help. And so then he, you know, disappears into the anonymous crowd. And it's like, see, that's just setup. There's no resolve. I want resolve. I don't want more setup. I followed the Matrix for 20 years. I'm ready for a good resolve, and not for this to drag out another 20 years. So that's my biggest weakness with it. I did like the Horde, how they did the hoarding
and the
stuff.
swarming.
Yeah. The swarming.
I loved when Neil Patrick Harris is like swarming. They're a lot of fun, or however he phrased it. I'm like, yeah, I could see. Well, see, and my experience with Neil Patrick Harris is as Barney Stinson on How I Met Your Mother, and Barney Stinson would have also liked the swarm. So I'm seeing Neil Patrick Harris as Barney Stinson and the architect, and I was mixing them all together, and that's probably why I thought he was like the perfect person for that job, because I could see both sides, and it was cracking me up. So I did enjoy him as the analyst and architect.
Yes, and I also liked his cat was named Deja Vu.
Yes.
So like those
they just
little
kept
throwbacks.
These little throwbacks, and I loved a lot of the throwbacks.
I did. I really liked the throwbacks. I just wish you bring in the throwbacks to bring things to a conclusion.
Yeah.
Rather than bring in the throwbacks and go, remember. We're going to keep going with this, by the
See,
way.
if they would have just done it as a remember, so you felt good, but ended it, it would have been great. That was how I felt about it.
Thank you again,
I know.
Daniel.
I realized I was wearing blue right as we're starting, and I'm like, "Ow! I missed it." And then you want to know, and he's like, "Well, you would take the blue pill."
She would.
I would not. I would hope. Well, I don't know. I've never been in that situation.
Oh,
I would
man.
hope not.
I did like what they explored though with the pills, because they talked about how the choice is kind of bull. But I like the reason why they said the choice is bull, because by the time you get to the choice, you kind of already know what decision you're going to make.
Yeah.
So that part's the illusion. Get past the illusion, and that's what they talked about in the second Matrix movie. And the second Matrix movie, when he's talking to the Oracle about Trinity, and it looked like she was going to die, it was about he's already made the choice, and what he can't see past is a decision he doesn't understand. So he's here to understand why he made the choice. And that's one of the things I like about the Matrix trilogy, because they bring up this illusion of choice. Did the machines use prophecy as a way to control you more? But Neo made a decision. And he made that decision when he was fighting Smith. Why do you keep fighting, Mr. Anderson? And he stands up and says, because I choose to. Yeah. And again, this shows you that love relationship between Neo and Trinity. The one is more than just that code. The one is more than just that prophecy. It's about love. And so because of that relationship with Trinity, because of what all of that meant, he knew what he was fighting for, and he chose to keep fighting.
Yeah.
There's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. So in a sense, the machines brought about their own undoing with these prophecies. But you can also tell as you watch in the real world, when Neo can control machines out in the real world, there's a power above even the real world that is also orchestrating things to bring about freedom. And so I love it when I watch The Matrix and I just experience all of those different levels. And so you see the power of choice, you see the power of love, you see the power of faith when everything is supposed to be fake, and you see Neo walking the path of the one, even when he's told there is no path of the one, he chooses to walk it. And so I like how, even though we look at this, what does it mean now? You're still seeing that. So it's really cool. LOL, I put on a remix of that scene whenever I'm at the gym. Yes, why do you persist? Because I choose to.
That's awesome.
But that is one of my favorite scenes because, you see that continue on in this one. I guess that's my point. Like, they did a good job doing callbacks to that. And now why does he persist? Because he chooses to.
Yes, he chooses to for Trinity, though.
Yes.
I don't see him choosing to for humanity. He was choosing to do all of this stuff because of love, which is very important. And because, God so loved the world, he gave us his only son. So he's choosing to do this for love. But
you have a thought here.
I do. I'm trying to get the words out.
Yes.
And it's like, that was one of my issues. It's like, there is all of this going on in the world, and they're advising him about certain things, and he doesn't care. I'm going to go do this. It might kill everybody, but I'm doing it because I love Trinity, and that's it.
But you know what I liked about that is because Trinity had faith in Neo even when the Oracle said, you're not the one, right? She didn't know the Oracle said that.
I know, and that's true. He chose to have faith in her because she had faith in him.
Right. And so
I did like that.
Yes. And I thought it was interesting that she flew in the end, because to me, it is that picture when you get married, the two become one. And in my mind, they are married. They belong together.
But why? I don't understand why she flew. That's the part that perplexed me.
Well, I think it goes back to how did Neo control the machines in the real world in the second Matrix movie? And it's because there is something more even to our reality. And so I kind of just, and they're saving this for sequels.
Yes.
And that's, again, what disappoints me. In the real world, there's this shot of Trinity and Neo, like, waking up as they're being resurrected, and they're reaching out to each other. And when their hands touch, there's this light and this explosion. Well, what is that? I mean, it shows you there's more even to the real world, and there's more with their connection. And so I think that's probably what we're seeing with the fact that, she can fly. And maybe it's because they made her code like the code of the one.
Yes,
balancing out.
Because they had to resurrect her and go through the resurrection pod and probably do some kind of coding and all the other stuff with it. So they had to link Neo to it somehow. But there was no explanation of it.
Yeah,
that was probably part of my issue. And that is actually, okay, I've only seen the ending once. And I felt like they both tied it up in a nice little bow.
I didn't like the ending.
And it was not Matrix feel to me. And then, but they also left it open-ended, so we would have to go to the theaters again to see another one, which we don't really want to see, but we feel like we need to because we have invested ourselves in the last 4 movies. And that is a little issue I have with it.
Yeah. Now, the part I liked about the ending was the action sequences.
Yes,
kind of like
I
the
love
boss,
the
like
action sequences
jumping
'cause
out windows
that's
at him.
Matrix.
Yeah, and that was cool. I liked them being on the roof and flying for the first time. Like, all of that is fine. What the ending I did not like is them coming to threat the analyst. Because to me, it's like, okay, you opened it the way the first Matrix opened, and the way the first Matrix ended was him on the phone saying, I didn't come here to tell you how it's going to end, but how it's going to begin. You're repeating that.
Yeah,
You're repeating that
100%.
beat here. And so I didn't find it quite as powerful, even though she got to kick Neil Patrick Harris's jaw off.
Well, and that was a callback to earlier in the movie.
Yes,
she
it
said
was.
she wanted to kick her husband's face, and have his jaw come off. Then she did it to the person who created her fake husband.
Yep. And so that was, I mean, like things like that were a little fun and a little rewarding, but the ending just wasn't that powerful for me. And I was just like, But it's also my disappointment that I don't want sequels.
Yeah,
I want it
you
done.
can't recapture the original. You just can't.
No.
It's already out there. It's not original anymore. So if you're trying to recapture the original, you're just repeating it.
Yeah.
You're not doing something new. And that was part of the issue for me.
Yep.
And, it's hard to do something new in this world.
It really is hard to do something new.
It really is hard to do something unique. And the first Matrix was. And, the second and third Matrix also were because they kept building on it.
They built on it story-wise, but they didn't break ground any other way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so this did not feel like it was building on it story-wise nearly to the extent as 2 and 3. And it felt like more of a rehash with just some new twist.
Caleb, he posted this earlier, but I'm putting it here now. Fun fact about her Matrix husband: the actor who portrayed him used to be Keanu Reeves' stunt double. That's pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome. Didn't know that. That actually would be a good pick because it would look similar.
Yep.
Did you ever see Trinity's other body, like her DSI? Is that what they called it?
Yes. The digital self. You see it at the reflection on the table. So you see she's
only
a blonde.
see it briefly.
Very briefly.
Okay, because I know his friend, who's his handler, said she was blonde haired, and I'm like, I don't see that. So I wish they would have shown us more DSI type stuff with both Keanu Reeves and with Carrie Fisher, and not Carrie Fisher. What? Oh my gosh,
Carrie-Anne Moss.
So sorry. Just Carrie Fisher rolls off my tongue faster, I guess. But with Carrie-Anne Moss, because that would have shown us more what the world looked like to everybody else. But then when you're looking through Neo's or Trinity's eyes, you would have seen, because I'm pretty sure Trinity saw Neo
as he really is. And he saw her as she really is.
Yes. And so I wish there's just a little more to that for me, because I think that would have added a little bit.
Well, here's what I think would have added to it. I just wish they didn't see themselves as themselves, because I don't know. I don't even know how, because like one idea with the whole digital self-image is I'm thinking, are the machines also trying to change how Neo and Trinity see themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Because, apparently Trinity looks in the mirror and she sees Trinity. So she looks at the game and she thinks, oh, Trinity looks just like me.
I look like that. Oh, but my husband laughed at me thinking it was a joke. But I wanted to kick him in the face.
And then you see her reflection at the table and she's blonde. And it's no wonder.
No wonder she laughs
is
about
totally
it.
different. So I do wish we got a little bit more of their changed DSI and got to see that some more, because I think that would have been more impactful, and it could have been more impactful changing how they see each other. So I agree with you on that completely.
Yep. And the Wi-Fi signal's up again, so really sorry if this is skipping it all.
Well, in fact, why don't we go ahead and start to bring this to a close?
Yes.
Because I think we've said all we can say on the Matrix. If anybody has any questions they just want to ask Laura and I off the cuff, feel free to drop that in the comments right now. So, Laura, one more time, what are your overall thoughts of this movie and what led you to that B+?
Well, as I talk about it, I feel like I like it less and less. And I have a feeling if I watch it again, I'll probably like it less. There was a lot of really cool stuff that I did like. I liked how they changed needing to use a phone to teleport.
Yep.
And that it was like through mirrors or doors or whatever item. I kind of liked how that I don't know what his name is. The guy who helped him that was on the ship get from place to place. I liked how they showed him. I don't know if the characters in the Matrix could see him.
Yeah,
or if
that's
he
really
was
confusing.
just pointing and that was us seeing him talking through their ear. But I liked that because I liked
I found
that
it confusing.
person being a part of it. I know it's kind of confusing, but I did like it because they're trying to show us a little more.
Yeah.
And I like when they're building on it, not repeating.
Yes.
And so that was a build. And I liked the swarm. I liked how
the swarm was cool.
Like the agents could be anyone and their eyes just changed and they were going to attack.
Yeah, that part was fun.
So that part to me, I enjoyed, except for that's all those people that are now dead, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. So for me, B+. I mean, I think I liked it a little bit more than you. And I feel it too. Like I watched it a couple of times and I liked it less the second time I watched it than the first time. But I think I still like it because of that philosophy, because that's what I love about The Matrix, is being able to dig in and find that biblical philosophy. And the way Neil Patrick Harris, the analyst, is pulling this lie over their eyes, trivializing the truth and making the truth look like a joke, just makes me think that's exactly what the devil does. If I could take the truth and make it look like a joke and make it be like, you're insane for believing this, so insane that Neo's taking the blue pill because he thinks he needs to take that medication as it's lulling his mind to sleep, rather than waking him up to the truth. And I love the coloring because you have Neil Patrick Harris, he's got the blue glasses, and then you see Sati, and she's in the coffee shop, she's got red glasses. And so I liked how they put in different things like that. But I think I like this better because of the philosophy. I really think the thing that holds me back from loving this or going into the A range is I feel like they did a lot more to set up sequels than they did to really just bring things to a satisfying conclusion.
Or even just setting up sequels and not investing into this movie what it should to have a whole round story.
Yeah.
Because it would be okay to do sequels if you had a solid story. But this was not a solid story. It was a setup.
Yeah. And I think that's my biggest problem with this. And so I don't know. For me, I hope this isn't a trilogy. I hope there's only one more and they take whatever the next one is and close it.
I'll be interested to see if they get one more.
I would be interested. I think they probably will. I think financially it'll do well enough. But it's just, I do love The Matrix. And I'm not talking from the point of view of somebody who's tired of The Matrix. I love it. I love the first one. Mm-hmm. I don't hate the sequels.
I enjoyed the sequels.
And I like the philosophy a lot in the sequels and the questions they raise. And that's what I like about this fourth one. So for me, it kind of goes in there with the sequel. So those are my thoughts. That's Laura's thoughts. What are your thoughts? Be sure to leave it in the comments below. And while you're there, hit that subscribe button to become a Durbanian and hit that bell by the subscribe button so you're notified the next time we do a live video, which we're going to do one soon because we got to do our top 5 movies we're looking forward to in 2022.
Yes.
And what is it? Our top 5 favorite of 2021? Do you think we got enough?
I don't know if I have 5 favorites from 2021. So because so many movies got canceled and postponed. So it might only be most 5 anticipated movies.
Right.
It might only be that one this year just because the other would be really hard. Just being real.
All right. So you can also let us know what are your top 5 favorite of 2021 and what are you most anticipating for 2022. There's a lot of good stuff coming out. So hit that subscribe button and hit the bell by that subscribe button so you're notified when those videos drop. I'm Durbin.
I'm Laura.
Thank you so much for checking out Durbania.
Happy New Year.
And Merry Christmas.